Hello, all you beautiful people, and welcome to another video here at Hobbies and Happiness. My name's Dan.
I'm Jim, and today I want to use my healing powers.
I'm trying to think of a joke to go with the sweatshirt. I don't know. I still haven't seen the movie.
It's so good.
So you've said. Can you explain what your shirt is? For those of you who have been on the channel recently, you've probably seen Jim wearing this sweatshirt a lot. Can you explain your sweatshirt?
Thank you, Barbie. Thank you. All right, it's from the Barbie movie. All right, Ken goes through a lot of learning stuff in his life throughout the movie, and he just finds out that just being Ken is sometimes enough, and he's going to learn more about himself in the future. So, he wears this sweater.
My wife has been bugging me to say I need to see the movie because everyone who I talk to says it's a good movie. So, all right, I will see it at some point. So, today we're talking about the healing power of princesses and how we can build a deck around princesses and their healing power. Because for those of you who know Disney lore, are there even... There's one princess in particular that I can think of who has healing power, and that's Rapunzel. And there's got to be others. All right, but Mulan.
She healed the nation.
She did. That's a good one. I like it. I like where our head's at, Jim. All right, now before we get into this deck tech, guys, thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for hanging out with us today. But hey, you like Disney Lorcana? Do you like awesome Disney Lorcana content? You like some high quality content from some high quality gamers? Don't forget, hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on bell notifications so you can be notified when we release more Disney Lorcana content like this in the future. And if you want to support the channel and pick up some Hobbies and Happiness merch, link down in the description. You know the drill. It's down there. Find some cool merch. Wear it with pride. Support Dan and Jim here at Hobbies and Happiness. All right. We've got another very cool deck tech for you today. Another budget list. And it's the healing power of princesses. And Jim, if I were to ask you, I know you already know what the colors are, but what would you think the colors would be for a deck all around princesses and healing in Disney Lorcana?
Ruby Amethyst. Hook me up, Dan.
Ruby Amethyst. You are dead wrong.
Amber,
it is
blue. Amber
Sapphire healing power of princesses. Again, this deck is it's $30, so it's pretty cheap. Pretty cheap, but built all around princesses. So the card type, is it subtype? A classification. There we go. Classification, yes. Princesses and healing. I've been wanting to build a deck like this. I still have some other ideas around the healing archetype. And this is a pretty cool, fun kitchen table budget one to do. So we thought we would give it a try. Now, guys, there's one card you probably didn't see in there. It would go really well on this deck.
If you have it.
It's Rapunzel gifted with healing. The most expensive card in set 1. This entire deck costs less than one copy of that card. So if you have them, you probably would want to throw it in there. Okay? Because it's really good. But I didn't include it because it's super expensive. Super expensive. So
Honorable mention.
Honorable mention. But if you have it, I'm sure you want to play it, so go ahead and figure out a way to put it in there. Now, before we get into the looking at each and every card, I want to tell you all, okay, this deck is fun to play, fun to pilot. I was able to gain 14 lore in one turn just off of healing.
But did you win?
Maybe. No, but it was really cool. I did a thing. And that's what's exciting in these kinds of decks. So, without any further ado, let's look at the cards that are in the deck. All right. So I shouldn't say before because we're doing it. But the first cards that we're going to talk about are the build-arounds, the quote-unquote build-arounds. Grand Pabbie, oldest and wisest, is one of the first cards that I saw in set 2 and went, man, I really want to build a deck around this. And there's still some great ideas, right? But this card is to me just beautiful. Grand Pabbie, oldest and wisest, an unequal 7 cost, 3/6/3 with the ability Ancient Insight. Whenever you remove 1 or more damage from one of your characters, gain 2 lore. All right, so we're running 3 copies in this list. Okay, it's only 52 cents. Very cheap. Okay, if you don't have this, highly recommend picking yourselves up some copies. Now, mention this in our other deck techs, but again, I want to make sure we talk about it here. Secondary prices, okay? Important to note, the prices that you see on these cards are current when we made the video, all right? The secondary market and prices fluctuate every single day. So these prices probably won't be current when you watch the video. So be sure check what the current prices are. So just keep that in mind, all right?
So you're saying make sure you get your copies today
Yes.
before the price 10x's?
Yes, get your copies today.
Okay.
All right. So Grand Pabbie, a very cool card. Couple things you want to keep in mind about Grand Pabbie. Whenever you remove one or more damage, okay? So it doesn't matter how much damage you remove. If you have an action where you're removing damage, doesn't matter how much it's going to trigger, okay? So it's one of your characters. So if you remove damage from 2 characters, he will trigger twice, okay? Gain 2 lore. So each time this triggers, you are gaining 2 lore. So if you have multiple effects on board, pay attention to how much you can remove. If you have 4 damage marked on a character and have 4 different ways to remove the damage 4 different times, spread it out as much as you can, because that's what's going to gain you the most lore. So it's very important to keep that in mind, because that's how you're going to win very quickly, because you can. All right? So just keep that in mind. All right? So Grand Pabbie, oldest and wisest. I think this is the highest rarity card in the deck as well. I don't believe we're running any legendaries. And I believe this is only super rare. Don't quote me. I can't remember. But yeah, we're running 3 copies in this list, 52 cents. All right. So that's Grand Pabbie. The next card, it's Rapunzel, Gifted Artist, running 4 copies.
Card.
This is a phenomenal card. She's only a quarter, right around a quarter. Rapunzel, Gifted Artist, inkable 5 cost, 062 with shift 3. Let your power shine. Whenever you remove 1 or more damage, again, 1 or more damage from one of your characters, you can draw a card. It's the same thing with Grand Pabbie. So keep in mind how much damage you're removing and how many times you're triggering it. All right? You can draw a lot of cards with this. Just in the same way, you can gain a lot of lore. Excuse me, with Grand Pabbie. And again, card draw is going to be what's important in this deck, because you don't have. When we get to the value portion, you'll see you can draw a lot of cards, but you need a lot of different ways to do that, and that's what you're going to be able to do with Rapunzel, Gifted Artist. All right. So speaking of this Rapunzel, again, she's shiftable, so shift 3. We're also running Rapunzel Sunshine. She's only 15 cents. Filling her out in the deck, 4 copies, inkable 2 drop. 1/1 with her ability Magic Hair. You can exert her to remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. So again, you've got the Rapunzel package. All these 3 cards are really the linchpin, what you're building around. If you have these cards on board and then you just heal, you can win the game and draw a lot of cards very, very, very fast.
This is the first time I really remember even seeing this card, and I probably wouldn't play this in any other deck. But honestly, this is a really good card.
Yeah.
I'm kind of shocked at it.
Yeah. If you're able to pair this up with something that has a lot of willpower, man, you can do some serious damage. And then when you're built around the idea of healing up and then just profiting off of that, this card can help take you there very fast, along with Gifted Artist.
Especially if you pair it up with the bodyguard effect, because then you're giving protection to this card to be exerted.
Yeah, and again,
phenomenal.
And again, something to keep in mind, guys, is this is only cards from set 1 and set 2.
Yep.
More cards we get, we're going to be able to retool these lists and come back and do some serious damage. All right, so that's the build around. All right, now let's talk about the supporting cast. The supporting cast of princesses, and the first up, it's Cinderella, Gentle and Kind. I remember Jim and I were playing with the starters from set 1, and Jim wrecked me with Cinderella, Gentle and Kind. So she is an inkable 4 cost, 2/5/2. 2/5/2. Like that 5 willpower is nothing to squawk at in a deck built around healing. So she's 2/5/2 with Singer 5, which actually does matter. Does matter in this list. Does matter.
We'll get that.
All right. She has an ability, a wonderful dream. Exert this character to remove up to 3 damage from chosen princess character. Well, when you have a lot of princesses, you remove 3. Remove up to 3.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. All right, so we're running 3 copies of Cinderella. And again, the big thing here, 2 lore. Right? It's anything that's got 2 lore more is always at a premium. Right? So that's Cinderella. The next one, Ariel on human legs.
Another great card.
Another great card. Sure, she has that ability voiceless, but we don't really care.
Yeah.
She is an inkable 4 cost, 3/4/2, and she's only 7 cents, right? So another card that can quest for 2. It's just great, right? And again, because we're only running 4 songs, which she can't sing the song anyway.
Yep.
So that's okay. Right, she's a princess, and she goes along with the strategy, and she quests for 2. All right, so next let's talk about the Jasmine package, which this list really, really takes advantage of, okay? And it's really built around Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah. This is another card that I remember when we looked at, we saw in set 1, we were like, oh, this is so good. So good. And I'm excited to see how else we can build with this card in the future, but it's Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah. So she's we're running 4 of. She's an inkable 5 cost, 2/5/2 with shift 3. She has the Caretaker ability, which says whenever you play this character and whenever she quests, you may remove up to 2 damage from each of your characters. So if you're able to get her out with her shift ability, you play her, remove 2 damage from everything. Then quest, remove 2 damage again. Now, it does say up to 2 damage, so you can do 1 and 1 to then trigger your Rapunzels or trigger your Grand Pabbies. You can do a lot of crazy stuff.
Multiple times.
You can do a lot of crazy stuff with it. But yeah, I love this card. I'm excited to get more, to do more with this card in the future. Great thing, she quests for 2. Quest for 2, and she's only 77 cents. Are you surprised at that price?
Honestly, a little bit. But, kind of what drives the prices up is how usable is it.
Correct.
There's really not any home for it currently.
Competitively speaking.
So it's just like, oh, well, people want the card casually, so then they pick it up. But the card, honestly, is phenomenal. The stat line is great. And the ability, along with the shift, and we have some really low-cost Jasmines.
We do.
Which is great.
Speaking of low-cost Jasmines, let's talk about the first one. It's Jasmine, Heir of Agrabah. So she's an inkable 1 cost, 1/2/1 with the ability I'm a fast learner. Whenever you play this character, remove up to 1 damage from chosen character of yours. Normally, this is not that great of an effect, but when you can profit off of healing, great. And then when you have a shiftable Jasmine to go on top of this, even better. To me, this is the best one you want to shift on, right? This is the best one you want to shift on because it only costs 1. And once she's done her on-play ability, there's not much else she's going to be able to do for you, right? Sure, she quests for 1, but she's able to be taken care of very easily. She's only 11 cents, so that's great. So very, very cheap. But probably a really good Jasmine is this next one, Jasmine Disguised. She's an inkable 3 cost, 3/3/2 vanilla. Doesn't do much, but again, is able to quest for 2. And again, anything that quests for 2 or more is very, very important and very, very vital. So only 8 cents. Very, very cheap, back from set 1, but a great card. Pick yourself up some. And again, she's a princess. She quests for 2. Not much more to say, but just a very, very good card. Now, this next card fits very, very well into the strategy. Very, very well into the strategy. You may only be able to use her ability a couple times, but that's okay. And that's Moana of Motunui. Moana of Motunui, an inkable 5 cost, 1/6/3. Not that great of a stat line, but she quests for 3. And honestly, that 6 willpower
is very important.
Super important.
Especially
if your opponent is not able to take care of it on their turn and then you can heal it up.
Yep.
That's great, because then you can do her ability multiple times, and that ability is We Can Fix It. Whenever this character quests, you may ready your other princess characters. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. Great thing about this card, only 33 cents, super cheap. She was in the set 1 starter decks, so that's great. But when you have a lot of other princess characters who have other effects where you can exert them to heal is great.
Yep.
Okay, so one of the great things you probably can do with this deck, right? Because of the stat lines, when we're talking about healing, what do you need in order to heal? You need damage on your characters. Okay, and if your opponent is not attacking into them, then you need to go on the offensive. Okay, even Rapunzel, I can't remember which one, but she's the 0/6 one.
Yeah.
You can still attack. You can still challenge with that Rapunzel. Sure, she won't deal damage, but she'll get damage marked on her. Then she can get healed up, and then restood to protect to be out of harm's way. So Moana just helps. She helps fuel a lot of your strategies, right? She helps take care of stale board states. She can, right? But Jim, I know Moana was a card that you really liked from set 1.
Yeah, I
did. What do you think about her inclusion in this list?
So one thing we're also able to do is talk about how much burst lore you're able to get.
Did I mention that I was able to gain 14 lore in one turn with this deck?
We talk about, right, the Moana being able to restand the stuff. So you can quest with all your princesses, right? Quest with the Moana to restand everything. Attack into your opponent's stuff and then start healing if you got Grand Pabbie out. Because now it's like, all right, well, I gained 5-6 lore just off of questing, and now I'm healing all my stuff up. I'm controlling your board as much as I'm able to.
Right.
Make it to where your things aren't going to die, and then you just heal them up. Grand Pabbie's going to kick in.
Right.
You have the Rapunzel kicking in, drawing you more value now. This card is honestly the best supporting card for this whole deck.
Because the whole thing is this can help turbo you too.
Yes.
This can help turbo you in the late game.
This is a one card. I just flip the game. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Because most of the time you're having to wait until your opponent to do something. Because again, you can only do one thing with your characters each turn. But now you can do multiple things with them. And the fact that it's your princesses is key because those are the ones that are going to trigger all of your effects. For the most part, they're going to trigger all of your effects. So Moana, a great card. I would love to get 4 copies of her in here. I just not sure what to cut, right? And so as usual, feel free to play with the numbers, okay, of this list, okay? But that's Moana. Another kind of card that I think is a necessity in this deck is Grand Duke Advisor to the King. It's kind of
important.
It's kind of necessary because the stat lines are just very, very low on your princesses, okay? So Grand Duke is an inkable 2-drop, 2-cost, 2/2/1 Storyborn ally with the ability, yes, your majesty. Your prince, princess, king, and queen characters get +1 strength, okay? Only 23 cents, so cheap. Okay, you can pick up a full playset for $1, right around $1. But again, I think it's necessary. So getting multiple of these, I'm perfectly fine with getting him out on board and just leaving him alone and not doing anything with him, because it helps me deal with my opponent's stuff. Because normally you can't. I mean, Rapunzel, I can't remember which one. She's an 06. She's an 06. I'm scared to do anything with her because for fear of her getting taken out and then doing nothing in return. Okay. So that's Grand Duke. I just think it's a necessity. All right. Now let's talk about the Sapphire value and item package.
So good.
Which, if you're playing Sapphire, it's like it's kind of a necessity. And it all starts with this card. It's Popsicle. Now, I know I've talked about before, and I've said this multiple times, you know, I hate playing in certain formats and just seeing the same exact cards from the same colors over and over. Okay, I'm okay with these cards because they're cheap. They're very, very cheap. And again, in a deck like this, you need the value. So Popsicle is that value. And Popsicle serves multiple purposes, okay? The card draw, but then that healing ability as well. So if you're not familiar, Popsicle, inkable, 1 cost. It's got 2 abilities, and both of them are relevant. That Jumbo Pop, playing the card, draw a card. And then the That's Redwood ability. You can banish this item to remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. So you can do multiple things with this card. Jim and I have loved this card the moment we saw it. Right?
Now, if there's anyone out there who doesn't like this card, refuses to play this card because you just see it so much, do me a favor. Play the card.
Just play it.
Just give it a shot.
Just play it. It instantly
know how it goes.
It instantly replaces itself in your hand, and then just has upside. Okay, if your opponent banishes it, okay, there's other things that I can do, right? But it just helps fuel it. This card alone helps fuel so much value in any deck playing Sapphire. So I think we'd be fools not to take advantage of it. Okay, card's only 17 cents. So you can pick up a full playset for not even 50 cents, right around 50 cents. Okay, the next card, it's Flaversham. Okay, Hiram Flaversham Toy Maker, running the full playset, 90 cents. Okay, so on the more expensive side for the deck, but it's a necessity. His Artificer ability, he's an inkable 4-cost 1/6/1 with the ability Artificer. Whenever you play this character and whenever he quests, you can banish one of your items to draw 2 cards. Talk about card draw. Is there much more to say about this, Jim?
So there was a reason he kind of spiked in price, but then slowly dropped because he's a rare.
Right.
It's just going to happen.
Yes.
But this guy is phenomenal. He was super slept on when it first was announced, and then again he shot up to $10.
Yeah.
And then slowly.
Did he really got up to $10?
He went to $10.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
The fact that, guys, it's 90 cents right now. Just pick up a full playset, make sure you have it, because who knows? Maybe it'll go up.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll go up. Maybe it'll go up again. Who knows? Again, that's the thing with secondary prices. You never know what they're going to.
And the card just gets better with more items we get.
The more items you get, but I don't really see how you get better than Popsicle. To be honest with you, it's crazy to me. But anyway, that's Flaversham Toy Maker, and we are also running only 2 copies. But it's Nick Wilde, Wily Fox. 2 copies. That's a great card, though. He does quest for 2. He's an inkable 4-cost, 2/4/2. And his ability, it's called a Hustle. It should be. It's called a Hustle, Sweetheart, because that's what he says in the movie. It's great. Again, if you play the card, you know what it does. You can recycle a Popsicle from discard to your hand. So this is one of those cards I would love to get 4 of in the deck, but honestly, to me, I think 2 copies is a sweet spot, is a good spot to be for a deck like this. Okay, we don't need
There's a
all
lot of
4.
stuff to do.
There's a lot of stuff to do, and I don't want to waste it just trying to recycle. I've got other stuff that you want to try and get out on board, because again, with this, you have to establish a very large board presence to then just be able to win out of nowhere, right? So, and I don't want to be able. I don't want to have to hog all the slots with all the copies of Nick Wilde. Okay. All right. So that's Nick Wilde. The next card you probably don't see a lot of, but it's Maurice's Workshop. All right. So we're only running 2 copies in the deck. I know the graphic says 3. I didn't have time to change the graphic before I made it. All right. But it's Maurice's Workshop. It's an uninkable 3-cost. Jim, I'm interested to know what you think of this, right? But it's Maurice's Workshop. Uninkable 3-cost item. Whenever you play another item, you may pay 1 ink to draw a card. This card synergizes phenomenally well with Popsicle, especially when you're recycling and you're doing all that stuff with the Popsicle. It synergizes extremely well. Not as good as Maurice himself, but to me, a card like Maurice's Workshop, again, it's very cheap. It's only 38 cents. Okay. It just works very, very. It works a whole lot better. Plus, it's an item which, if I don't need it for the remainder of the game, if I have Flaversham out on board, I can banish this as well. Okay. So, what's your thought on Maurice's Workshop?
The only thing that's really destroying me about this card is that it's uninkable.
Yes.
And we're not.
It's another reason I'm only running 2.
Yeah. And we don't really have a whole lot of items, so I would probably cut this down to 2.
We're only running 2.
Okay, all right.
We're only running 2.
So yeah,
I know it's
reading the notes.
Yeah.
But I was looking over
here. The notes. It's all caps. We're only running 2.
So having the 2 copies, I think, is good. But I would have to just play the deck, see how it's working, because even aside from this, we have a lot of card draw, it seems like. So I could even see cutting it for maybe even like Tamatoa.
Yeah,
another board presence.
Yeah. So with this slot, I liked Maurice's Workshop because, again, in the testing that I've done, I need multiple avenues of hitting card draw, right? Because if I don't get the other card draw I need, honestly, getting this out on turn 3 is great.
Yeah.
Okay, because getting this out on turn 3, phenomenal. Turn 1, Popsicle. Turn 2, maybe Rapunzel. Turn 3, Workshop. Turn 4, Flaversham. Banish the Popsicle to draw cards. Yeah. And then I just want one on the board.
Even if you get rid of this with Flaversham.
Yeah, exactly. It's still drawing. This is going to help draw multiple cards. Yeah. So that's the only reason I have Maurice's Workshop in the deck, and I just wanted to play around with it. And again, it's cheap, right? It's cheap. I think it's a perfect inclusion for a budget list, particularly. If you have Tamatoa, it's never bad to throw Tamatoa in a list. But
I think I looked him up. He's $1.
Yeah. Tamatoa is not super expensive. But again, I was just trying to stay on theme, and if you want to fit him in, you definitely could fit Tamatoa so shiny into this list.
Or we were also talking about playing another card as of like a 4 of, but we couldn't find room. This is probably what I'd get rid of.
Yeah. So this I think is like that flex slot, right? So that's Maurice's Workshop. Next, it's Develop Your Brain. Jim was also talking about Nothing to Hide as one. I think that card serves this same purpose, but I like Develop Your Brain. It's only 13 cents. It's an inkable 1 cost. Look at top 2 cards of your deck. 1 into your hand, 1 in the bottom of your deck. I like Develop Your Brain because I'm looking at more cards.
It's faster.
But especially in casual formats, again, I'm focused on what I'm trying to do. I don't really care about what my opponent's doing. So I think if you want to run Nothing Tied, you absolutely could. Because again, replaces itself and just gives you information about what your opponent's doing.
Which honestly, when Dan and I were talking about the 2 cards or even like the 3 cards, because you can put in Popsicle into the whole conversation of, oh, it's a 1 cost, I'm going to draw another card or gain another card. Yeah. And he was talking about the Nothing to Hide. I wasn't really thinking too much about it because I'm just like, oh, Develop Your Brain just gets you get to see 2 cards.
Yeah.
But the Nothing to Hide makes it to where you can just play around what your opponent has, which is so important. If you make it to where his cards are useless, you're in a better spot.
Right. Nothing to Hide, to me, is much more valuable and much better in a competitive setting than it is in a casual setting, right? But again, your play style, like play whichever card honestly brings you more happiness or just fits the play style that you want to do or fits the deck that you want to build, right? And I think Develop Your Brain and Nothing to Hide, they both replace themselves in your hand. It's just, what else do you want to do? Do you want to see what your opponent does, or you just want to look at another card, right? So both are great. Develop Your Brain, only 13 cents. I'm not sure what the price of Nothing to Hide is, but I would venture to guess it's probably around the same
Roughly
thing.
The same.
It's cheap, okay? So that's Develop Your Brain. The last card I want to talk about value works very well with this deck. It's Gumbo Pot. Gumbo Pot, we're running a full play set. It is an inkable 2-cost item. The best I've ever tasted. You can exert this item to remove 1 damage each from up to 2 chosen characters. It's just another one that helps fuel your strategy of removing damage. Okay. So there's not much to say other than this. I mean, there's plenty of cards that do this similar type of ability, but what I like about this is it's multiple targets. Dingle Hopper, one drop, remove 1 damage from 1 character. This is basically 2 Dingle Hoppers in 1. So when you're able to profit off of multiple triggers, that's what I like about Gumbo Pot. Only 7 cents, so very, very cheap card. All right. Now, let's talk about removal. Oh, okay, we're done.
Almost.
There's not a lot of removal, but you kind of need this
4
card.
cards.
It's Let It Go. You need it. You need it.
Yeah.
This is the most expensive card in the deck, $3.20.
You have no other removal in the deck. Your cards barely hit over 4 damage.
Yeah. So,
and that's with having the advisor, the Duke.
The Duke,
It's
it's rough. Okay. Now,
but the value.
We did talk about Cinderella earlier. She can sing this. She's a 4-drop. She can sing this.
Important.
Okay. I didn't even think about it honestly when I'm putting the deck together. But as I'm going through the cards, I'm like, oh, Cinderella can actually sing this. She can sing, so that's great. Because it's just another thing that she can do. Cinderella is actually pretty versatile in this list.
Yep. You're going to quest with her. Moana quest to restand the what is it, Cinderella? Yeah. Yeah, the Cinderella to then go ahead and sing the Let It Go and just remove one of your opponent's cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
So I don't think there's much else to say about this. $3.20. If you don't know what it does, it's an inkable 5-cost card. It says put chosen character into their player's ink while face down and exert it. And it's a song, so anything that has cost 5 or more can sing this card, which there's not much in the list that actually does that.
Yeah.
It's Moana, Grand Pabbie, and Cinderella can because of her ability, and then the Jasmine, Queen of Agrabah. That's
did we say Rapunzel Gifted Artist? Inkable 5?
No, it's printed. Well, okay, I'm sorry. Which one?
Gifted Artist.
Oh, she is a 5 cost.
Yes.
She is 5. She can sing that.
Yeah. We got a couple cards.
Because her ability is static. Yeah, so you've got a few cards. I didn't even think about that, my bad. Thank you for pointing that out to me. But yeah, so that's Let It Go. A great card. I think it's a necessity, especially in these colors where your removal options are very, very lacking. Sure, you do have World's Greatest Criminal Mind, but that is conditional based off of the strength of one of your opponent's characters. Yep. But again, run what you have. You need at least 4 cards to help you control the board. Yep. Ideally, you need more, but again, if you're gonna run Hades, again, Hades is like $20.
Yeah, I think so.
That's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing. So we're building a budget deck and don't have a ton of options. So that being said, Jim, what do you think? What do you think about this deck? I know this is kind of a weird off the beaten path, but what's your overall thoughts of the deck?
Well, when the first set was out, we talked about the Jasmine, and we were like, oh, we got the Rapunzel, we got a lot of good cards for the healing.
Yeah.
The Moana was out, so there was a lot of stuff you could do with princesses and healing. And now we just have more stuff to make it better.
And now we're getting more cards.
Yeah.
We're getting more cards in set 3. I can't wait to brew with more cards. I'm really looking forward to the full set being released, because when that happens, we've got a lot to do. Yeah. We're gonna do the set reviews, and then I'm gonna get to brewing a bunch of other decks. Yeah. So of course the competitive meta is still gonna go on. We're definitely gonna pay attention to that. Yeah. We'll play a lot of those decks because that's gonna be fun. I was talking with Jim about this before. I've just been having so much fun with this game.
Yeah.
And I know people have said this is a very simple game, which, again, depending on where you're coming from, right, so what? I've been having so much fun. Sure, it's simpler in terms of, from the card game standpoint, sure, I've played more complicated games, but I don't know, man. I haven't had this much fun with a card game.
It's like a vacation for my brain. You know, it's like a vacation for my brain.
It can be, but then when I'm sitting down trying to win, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Hold on, okay.
All right. and Jim knows. Jim 100% knows.
Yeah, but I'm just like, in comparison to other card games.
In comparison, there's not as much I got to worry about, but again, been having so much fun. So that being said, we're going to kick it to you all. What do you guys think of this list in particular? What are some cards that you think fit the archetype well that maybe we didn't include? Let us know down below. And also let us know if there's some cards in here that you're like, why would you run that card in this list? Be sure to let us know. And again, let us know what other kinds of decks are you excited to build or you maybe want us to try out. We've got a lot of ideas, and I'm excited to be bringing you guys these deck techs now on the channel. Have been having a lot of fun. So let us know down below what you think. Jim, thanks for hanging out with us today. And thanks for being a sport with this deck, because I know you may not be the biggest fan with this.
That's another video.
That's a whole other video. So, all right. Again, thanks everybody for hanging out with us today, and we look forward to seeing you in the next Disney Lorcana video. See you, everybody.
Take care.